Looking at the code right now, it looks pretty and all, but then what happens when a user tries to visit a route that does not exist? For example, passing in an ID of a post that does not exist. We don't want to display an error message in production, right? So let's write a simple test to take care of this. So we'll head to our view a blog post test, and we're gonna write a new test, and this is gonna be public function test views a 404 page when post is not found. When the post is not found, we want to view a 404 page. So let's take care of that. First of all, we need to take care of our arrange step, our action step, and obviously end up with our assert step. But for our arrange step, think of it a little. We want to visit a post that does not exist, and then assert that the status is 404, and also assert that we see a particular type of string on our screen. Our arrange step is not really gonna cut the deal right here because we have nothing to arrange. For our action step, we're gonna be visiting a route that does not exist, or visiting a route that exists with the wrong parameters. And then for our assert step, we would assert that we have a 404 and assert that we see some sort of text on the screen. So for our action step, we're gonna say response equals this get, and we're gonna go to the post endpoint slash, and we're just gonna say invalid ID right here, okay, because this ID does not exist. And then for our assertions, we're gonna assert that the status of that request was a 404, so assert status of 404. And we're also gonna assert that we have a text that is displayed, so we're gonna say assert C, the page you are looking for could not be found. So we have this test. How do we run it? So this brings us back to the idea of actually running our test. We could actually run it the way we've been running, but then as you see, as our application grows, our tests increase, and we could have hundreds of tests at the end of this exercise. So we're gonna introduce a very simple way to run our test, and that's gonna be using groups. PHP unit provides us with a lot of ways to run our test, and I'm just gonna use the easiest possible. If we want to run only this particular test to see if it works, because we already know this one works, then what we could do is pass a group right here, and we're just gonna call this post not found. So when we're running the command, we're gonna pass in a group option, and this is gonna run only tests that have that particular group. So let's go ahead to our terminal and run that vendor PHP unit, but then we're gonna say group should be post not found. And now we have only that test running. If you check at the top, we have only one test, and we have an error exception trying to get property of known object in the post.blade.php, right? But this is not what we want. Remember, when you visit this route, it's gonna still return that view even if it doesn't find the post, right? We're getting the trying to get property of known object because null is returned to our view, and this is what we want to fix, right? We want this test to pass. So the very simple way to fix this is to make sure that our controller throws an exception when the post is not found. So I'm just gonna cut this out and pass in a variable post right here, and post is equal to post find. But then we're not going to be using the find method anymore. We're going to be using the find or fail method that Laravel provides for us. And this find or fail method is going to throw an exception if the post is not found. It's not going to return null to the view. So let's run our test again. And here we can see no query results for DB app post, invalid ID. So model not found exception has been thrown for us. So this is the exception that we want to try and catch right here, and if we catch that exception, we're going to return a 404 page rather than our post page. So let's wrap this in a try catch block and then catch, and we're going to be catching the illuminate database eloquent model not found exception. Okay, so it should be exactly what we have here: illuminate database eloquent model not found exception. And Laravel throws this exception anytime it doesn't find that database record using the find or fail method. Okay, so what do we want to happen when we catch this exception? We are simply gonna say return a view which is the 404.blade.php, and we're gonna be setting that up. So let's run that test again and see what we have. The view 404 not found. So new file, and I'm just gonna create a 404.blade.php. Let's run that again. Now we received this error saying that we expected 404 but we received 200. Obviously, because actually returning a 404 blade.php is a successful response, right? So how do we convert this to a failed response with Laravel? Laravel provides us with a very helpful abort method, and what it does here is it simply returns an HTTP response with a particular message. So we are saying that return a 404 response, and the message right here is just gonna be page not found, for example, right? Let's run this and see what we get. I'm sorry, I needed to pull out this piece of code right here, obviously, so that this method can run, right? So let's run that again. Now, why are we receiving a not found HTTP exception? This is because this Laravel method receives a status code and then it tries to respond by returning a 404 page with the error. So the 404 page that it looks for is in an errors directory in the views, right? So it goes to the views, enters an errors directory and looks for a 404.blade.php, but then we don't have one. That's why it's saying the page could not be found. So let's go ahead and try to fix this by creating our errors directory and then moving this 404.blade.php into that file. Okay, done. I've moved the 404.blade.php into my errors directory. Everything should work perfectly right now. So let's check it out. Run the test. And we still receive exactly the same error. Now why is this? In our handler.php, we are throwing that exception again. Means Laravel actually does not have a way to turn that into an HTTP response, therefore we're not getting that view. So I'm just gonna uncomment this and then I'll run that, and now we have an error saying failed, asserting that an empty string contains the page you are looking for could not be found. Now this error makes more sense, and remember we are simply throwing exceptions so that we have more helpful errors for us to be able to work with. It's not a necessity at all for our testing, so you can't actually send this to production. If not, a lot of stuff are gonna break. Okay, so in our 404.blade.php, all we need to do is actually make sure we have this sentence in our view, right? So it works. So I'm just going to copy this boilerplate from this page, paste it right here, remove the links, I don't need that. And to be exact, I'm going to head over to my view a blog post, and then I'm going to copy this sentence, head over to my 404 and replace the Laravel sentence with this. Run my test again, and now we have a successful response.